Hello and welcome to another edition of Inside the Dome with Dr. Richard Sander. Jay Sandos with you, and as always, Dr. Sanders willing to step in and answer all the questions that you want to know about ETSU athletics. And let's just jump in with the first question. It's about capital campaign. Once the football stadium's done, and that's a few years down the road, but what would be the next phase for ETSU as far as capital campaigns?
Well, right now we're kind of in the process of developing a whole facility strategic plan. I think, looking at a lot of different things. Clearly, basketball is something that I think we have to really focus on, and I guess, what does that really lead to? We just really need to look at the different alternatives and see what's real and what's not real, and then make the best judgment. Clearly, initially, Freedom Hall is something that needs to be enhanced, needs to be made significantly better, so we'll look at that. But also, where are we? Is there really the capacity and the ability to build an on-campus basketball facility? I think in a perfect world, there's no question that's what we would do. I've seen what it's done in other places I've been, and it really kind of changed the whole culture of the institution and allowed, the program to really kind of take the next step. So, in the real world and, in a perfect world, that's what we would do, realistically. How much money's out there, those are some of the things we're going to have to study, and then, make the best decision and, make the long-term plan, a short-term plan, and I guess mid-level plan. So that's what we'll do. But, I think you have to be practical and realistic. There's no sense in being out there and having unreal aspirations that you can never really, get to. But I think so. We want to make sure that we have the best short-term solution, but also be realistic, but also have the ability to kind of dream and have that vision for the long-term benefit of the university and the basketball programs.
Just a quick follow-up. If you had to put a range on it, or 10 years, 20 years, you think it's that far out?
You never know. You never know. I would say probably 10 years. Yeah, I think that's probably a good number. You know what I mean? Now, we've had some discussions with somebody that has capacity to give us $20 or $30 million. If we had somebody that actually came through and did that, then, then it would be, a whole lot shorter, time frame to get that done. Am I saying that's going to happen? No, but there has been a preliminary discussion with somebody who has kind of said they'd like to do something significant. Now, like a lot of things, sometimes that's just talk, sometimes it's real. You never know what factors influence, the ability of somebody to do that. So, but, we're always kind of out there seeing if there is somebody with that kind of potential who'd be interested in doing that. And this individual is an alum and has a great feeling for the university and loves college basketball. So those are all three good things,
Well, let's go to number two, and it's about scholarships. There's been a lot of talk about scholarships and how they're kind of structured. I guess they've been on one-year renewable deals, and now there's been some legislation where maybe it could be a four-year deal. Where does that stand, and how does that work as far as ETSU?
Well, that was one of the things that was voted on the NCAA, four-year scholarship. So when you sign somebody, they'd basically be there for 4 years. It was really interesting. A lot of the I guess the people that have a lot of the answers really felt that this was this was legislation that would benefit the student athlete. But it was really interesting that the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, the National Student Athlete Advisory Committee, that interacts with a lot of the different committees at the NCAA, they were really opposed to it. They really felt that one-year scholarships was the right thing because they wanted to make sure that, their teammates, that they were held accountable for what they did. And they felt that the one-year scholarship was really the right way to go. They didn't want, fellow student athletes who weren't carrying their load, and, if they weren't doing what they were supposed to do, they felt that they should not, the university should, and the athletic department should not be obligated to keep them around if they weren't, trying to be the best that they could be. So the student athletes weren't particularly in favor of it, but, I think, to be honest, I think some of the powers that be, that plays pretty well in the media and public relations wise. So they say, okay, yeah, look, we're going to take care of these student athletes for 4 years. So there's two different schools of thought, but right now, that's kind of bounced around throughout the years too. So right now, it's kind of back in the 4-year scholarship scenario. But
Does that start this year when people sign for this upcoming, I guess, 15-16 season?
It does.
Okay, so 4 years from there. The last question that we had in before, I've got a couple questions for you, is about the bus. They like the new look of the bus. How's it working out? They want to know. And then also, is there going to be any more buses added? Because right now it's just one.
Yeah, well, it is. It's great. It's really neat. I think it really makes a big statement about ETSU and ETSU athletics. That we want to do things right, and I think it's a great way to, give us a little exposure and brand the program. I think the kids really, our student athletes really enjoy being on it. It's a very nice bus, and I think they feel good about it when they drive up and people recognize who they are, and so it's definitely a source of pride. The second question is, there going to be more buses? I'm not sure there are going to be more buses. I mean, I think somewhere along the line it just gets to be a practicality issue, and we probably have greater financial needs than more buses, but so I would doubt it. Not in the immediate future. We'll have to kind of see. One of the things that's real is, as we did this football thing, we had projections and, we had pro forma of what football was going to cost. But until we really get into it and play a season and know exactly what's happening, the whole financial model is a projection, and we'll have to have a year or two to see exactly where we are before we can really make decisions about major investments in just about anything.
Well, this is the time of year where the majority of the most sports, I think, are in season. When you start looking at the golfs, the tennises, track, softball, baseball, and that means once you turn into April, championships start rolling around. It seems like almost every weekend there's going to be a championship decided. Yeah,
and I think that's really great, being in the SoCon, so fans, parents can go see their teams, see their student athletes play for conference championship, and that's really the first leg of the NCAA tournament in all of these championships. So our student athletes have a chance to play in postseason. All they have to do is go and win the conference championship, and I think we have some people that are positioned pretty well to do that. Clearly, the men's golf team has had a great year. They've had some really good performances. I think they're rated, I don't know, top 40 right now, and beating some very, very good teams. Men's tennis is, Coach Zatini's strategy is play really, really difficult matches early in the year and get better as the season goes on, and then build a winning momentum and get closer to the conference championship. Women's tennis has had some nice wins. Clearly they're right there. They've lost a couple here lately that were very, very close, so I think they have the potential to go in there and win the SoCon. Women's golf has gotten better and better as the season's gone on. They're a very young team. They lost a very good player who graduated a year early to go pro, Gabriella Wall, who was probably one of the preeminent players in the country, and she was a great student and could graduate in 3 years, so she did. She had wanted to chase that dream, and that's fine. But I think that really there was no there was no expectation of that until fairly late. So we're very young, got a bunch of freshmen and sophomores, and they're getting better and better. Then, baseball clearly has struggled here, but baseball is one of those things that all of a sudden somebody figures it out. You get a guy healthy, the pitching comes together. Baseball and softball both are so focused on pitching, particularly at this level. That's one of the things you got to do, and I think our pitching once again is very young, and sometimes those guys figure it out, and they have great arms. It's just kind of figuring out the college game and figuring out college hitters. And this year, one of the things probably for the pitchers is the change of the ball. That's probably affected pitchers more than anybody. More home runs, more hits. So they've got to kind of learn to pitch a little bit different than they have been.
Well, Doc, we appreciate the time on this week's episode. And don't forget, you can send your questions on Twitter at ETSU Athletics. You can hashtag What's Up Doc. That's at ETSU Athletics. Or you can email us at ETSURadio@yahoo.com. We'll see you next week with another edition of Inside the Dome.